First one for the rookie, and the Jags are in the end zone again.
This is the Publix Tailgate Show. Publix Tailgate Show. JP Shadrick and Mike Dempsey have all the news and information you need to get you ready for today's game. The Publix Tailgate Show is brought to you by Baptist Health, Farah and Farah, Geico, and by TIAA Bank. Now to get things started, here are Mike Dempsey and JP Shadrick.
After a gritty win over the Colts on kickoff weekend at home, the Jags hit the road for the first time in 2020, and they'll visit a place where they haven't had much success over the years. It's an early season battle for first place in the AFC South. The 1-0 Jacksonville Jaguars and the 1-0 Tennessee Titans. Kickoff at Nissan Stadium in Nashville coming up at 1 o'clock Eastern. Welcome into the Publix Tailgate Show. JP Shadrick with Mike Dempsey. We're at the Hanania Subaru of Orange Park studio at TIAA Bank Field, and here we go. The Jags have a first-place battle early in the season.
Gotta love it. 1-0, JP, and I feel like I've done my part. I didn't know. I'm superstitious, so I wore the same shirt as I did last week, but then I started thinking, should this be the home game shirt? I don't know. So, today's outcome will help determine what I wear going forward.
It's funny how you think about things that way after a win last week. That it was really a full team win. The offense didn't have a lot of yardage in the game. They had some short fields. The defense stood up when they needed to, made some big plays to shorten those fields, and they had 10 points off turnovers last week in a 7-point win. That's a huge team win.
Look, it was a very, kind of a conservative game plan, only throwing it 20 times last week, but it worked. They never fell behind early, and we talked a lot about it on the broadcast last week and all week long, how that fourth down stop was so monumental to turning that game around early on. The Colts up 7-0 at that point. Jaguars ultimately punted. They didn't do anything, but it gave them a little bit of a break, and C.J. Henderson got the interception on the next defensive stand, and the Jags were off and kept the Colts within a score all week long. I think that's going to be critical again today. You cannot fall behind big against a Tennessee team that wants to grind clock on you.
It's a picture-perfect day in Music City, USA. 63 degrees currently. The kickoff time temperature about 75. Blue sky, bright sunshine for the Jags and the Titans today. Let's get to today's top stories, and starting with that win last week over the Colts, but now the first road trip of the year as the Jags face the Titans. The last win for the Jags in Nashville was 2013. It was Gus Bradley's first win as the Jags head coach. But Doug Marrone is not worried about last week or the streak of losing in Nashville. Well, he's keeping it simple with the youngest team in the NFL.
We got so many young guys, and first-year guys, and, not many guys have been around. So I wanted to make sure that there was clarity, meaning it was just, real clear for everyone, knowing that it's just human nature for people to say, hey, listen, this is, this is what happened before, or, this is what happened to this team. And, whether it be success or failure, to say, listen, you know what, this is really a whole different deal.
It is trying to keep it simple for it is statistically the youngest team in the NFL in week one, at least. And they're not worried about all that other stuff in the past. They can't really look back to last week. They're 0-0. That's the attitude that Doug Marrone has to have with this team.
Well, sure. I think they showed resiliency last week in falling behind and handled an adverse situation. Let's see how they handle a little bit of success, how they practice this week. I think it'll show up early in this football game. So that's the approach every NFL coach tries to take. Every week's a whole new thing. It's difficult to do with any kind of team, a young team, a veteran team. You're off to one of those start, maybe a little bit unexpected outside the building. I know they have a lot of confidence in themselves, but we'll see how they handle that early season success.
Priority number one this week, slowing down Titans running back Derrick Henry, and he's put up just under 400 yards and 6 touchdowns on the ground the last 2 meetings with the Jags in Nashville. And defensive end Josh Allen for the Jags explained the tackling plan.
Hit him hard, hit him fast, hit him early. Basically, just hit him as hard as you can before he takes off running. It's easier said than done, for sure. But, we have a good game plan up against it this week, so we're real confident on him and the offensive line. And we play him twice every year, so we're kind of used to that. And we're just excited for this matchup. Again, I feel like a lot of guys still, are doubting us and our talent level on this team and this roster, actually. And it's an exciting week, and I'm excited to play against him.
Yeah, the early part of that clip there from Allen, hit him early, hit him often, hit him in the backfield, because if he gets a head of steam, and certainly if he bounces it outside, he gets that head of steam against little guys on the outside. We've seen that firsthand. That's where Derrick Henry can rack up the big gainers.
Right, you can't let him have those breakaway runs. He carried it 31 times on Monday Night Football, and I thought Denver did a pretty good job. He had 116 yards. They kept him under 4 yards a carry. I think the Jags would take that 116 yards if it takes Derrick Henry 30 attempts to get there today.
Linebacker Miles Jack had a big day last week for the Jags, and Marone said he could have been the best player on the field in Week 1. A big game today, of course, to close down the Titans' running game. And defensive coordinator Todd Wash described the difference for Miles Jack so far in 2020.
I would say he's a lot more focused. The position change, I think has a lot to do with it, just because of the amount of stuff that's put on his plate. The will position doesn't have a lot of communication things. That's our Mike linebacker, which Joe does really well at that. So I just think he's able to go out there, read his keys, and play fast, and that's when Miles plays the best.
He moved to the weak side linebacker spot last week for the first time in his career, had 11 tackles. He missed one tackle on the opening drive, but then was solid. A fantastic game after that. Solid is not even the word for it. He was, as Doug said, probably the best player on defense.
Yeah, I thought he was, had one of his best games as a Jaguar. He got my vote for player of the game, and hopefully this is more of what we're going to see out of Miles Jack now that he's been kind of unleashed. He can just seek and destroy from the weak side linebacker position. Let Joe Schobert make sure that everybody is lined up properly, and just let Miles Jack's instincts and ability take over. Final
defensive thought today. Safety Josh Jones led the team in tackles last week. It was his Jaguars debut, but it's been a winding road for Jones in his fourth season now in the NFL. He was out of football for about a month stretch a year ago at this time, but now in a starting role with the Jags.
It's been a long journey, kind of short in the span of 4 years, but it's been tough. There's been some ups and downs. I wouldn't want it anyway. I believe in, you go through what you go through because you needed to know what you know. And now I'm in a place where my coaches believe in me, and it just makes it easier for me.
Was on the non-football illness list, and then was cut, and then the Cowboys got him after a month off in October, and now he's a free agent, comes to the Jaguars. Not a lot of people had really heard of him or heard about him here because he wasn't in the building in the offseason. And then training camp rolls around, and wait a minute, Josh Jones is playing really good safety, good enough to get that starting job. Yeah, and look, he showed up too. You didn't have to know much about Josh Jones to go, hey, who is this guy? He's around the ball all day, led the team in tackles. So, let's hope it's more of the same. They're going to need him today. Let's go to offense now. And of course, Gardner Minshew last week, 19 of 20 passing, 173 yards and 3 touchdowns. And Minshew explained that approach last week against the Colts with a lot of passes going short.
Yeah, we were just going to take what they gave us, and then our guys made some really good plays after the catch. And as long as we're going to, we have that, we're going to take it. That's our thing. We're not going to force anything. We're going to take what the defense gives us, whether that's underneath, over the top, whatever. This week it just happened to be where it was. Average yardage per completion last week, just over 9 yards. That includes the yards after catch numbers. So if you take that away on the long James Robinson catch and run and the Laviska Shenault touchdown, it's much shorter than that. But hey, at some point, defenses are going to come down. You can probably get some shots over the top. It worked for 1 week, and, we've seen Gardner have a lot of effectiveness throwing the ball down the field in his rookie season. So we know that the accuracy is there on those downfield shots. They'll come. I think every coach in the National Football League, though, would be quite happy throwing the ball only 20 times if it meant they were going to win the football game, because coaches tend to be conservative. I don't know if everyone would agree with that, but look, if the Jags can win that way, they're going to take it every single time, but I think they've got a few more tricks up their sleeve that they haven't showed yet. Offensive coordinator Jay Gruden spoke with the media, of course, as he does every week, and he can always find some coaching points for the quarterback.
Yeah, it's never flawless. He's 19 for 20, of course, and he had the drop. But I think there's some things we can clean up. I think in the pocket a little bit he might have escaped a little bit too soon on a couple plays that we had down the field shots. But for the most part, we're always going to find something. We're coaches. We're not very nice. We're going to find something to be critical about. That's just the way it is. We have to. We can't tell him he was perfect, otherwise he'll get a big head. So we got to keep him calm and keep him on the right track. Just continue to learn, continue to study his footwork and his progressions and his eyes. And then obviously in the pocket when things break down, the decisions that he makes. The sack that he took there on 3rd down and 2. could have knocked us out of field goal range. There's some decisions there that we'd like to have back, but we're learning, and we're learning together. I'm learning more about him, what he is as a quarterback, as a person, what he likes, what he doesn't like, and that's going to be a process that's going to continue to take place. But as far as his first game with me and me getting to know him, I'm very impressed with the way he played.
Yeah, this relationship will be interesting to watch as the season goes along here. And he has, obviously, Gardner has him, Jay Gruden, around him, but Ben McAdoo around him, too. Two guys who have a lot of history with quarterbacks in this league and in offensive mindsets. And we're going to hear from McAdoo coming up a little bit later. But, yeah, this is going to be fascinating to see how they grow together as a coordinator and quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, Gardner's used to finding new coordinators every year and having to learn how to grow with those guys. I mean, that's been the story of his football career. So hopefully there'll be a little stability here with Jay Gruden. But, good start to week one. Nice balanced approach. I thought he kept Indianapolis off balance, didn't really know what was coming. I think he surprised them with the heavy reliance on James Robinson in the first half a little bit. So we'll see what he's got in store for Tennessee today.
Well, up his sleeve today might be more Laviska Shenault. The wide receiver made his debut last week as a rookie out of Colorado, second-round pick this year in the draft. And he lined up all over the Jags offense. He loves that kind of challenge.
What's crazy is none of that stuff got put in, like the stuff I did this past Sunday. None of that stuff got put into the week of. So I think they're just going day by day, and they're throwing opportunities at me. They're throwing obstacles at me to see how I respond to it. So I'm ready. I'm always ready. And I'm telling you, I love to do that type of stuff. So anytime my name get called to do something like that, I'm on board with it. 3 catches, and on those 3 receptions, he never hit the ground. He ran over a guy on the sideline, was gang tackled, didn't go to the ground, and then scored the touchdown. And he lined up at Wildcat and had a couple of carries in the game. So that at least puts it on tape for the rest of the year for the rest of the defensive coordinators.
Oh, I think there's a lot of untapped potential here in Laviska Shenault and the way they're going to use him this year. But it was a nice debut. Shows you the versatility that he's got, how strong he is. He's going to excel and run after the catch. That's a book on him, and we saw it in week 1.
More top stories coming up a little bit later. The Jags Game Day radio broadcast is presented by VyStar Credit Union. If you believe free checking is better, join VyStar. That's checking with no fees and no minimums. No kidding. At VyStar, they never forget, it's your money. Each week we visit with the head team physician for the Jags, Dr. Kevin Kaplan. This week, the importance of hydration on the football field.
And here we are in week 2. How are you?
Doing great. What a great win last week, Ken.
Huge for this team. Now a battle for first place today in Nashville against the Tennessee Titans. It's week 2. Obviously, it's still September. It's still very hot. There's a lot going on coming off training camp, going into a season without a full training camp and preseason. So what are some of the biggest medical issues that pop up for a football team? Maybe not the ones that are involved with hitting another team or contact or anything like that. Is it soft tissue, or are there hydration issues early in the season, and how do you combat those?
I think this season, obviously, we all know is different than any other season. And that's one of the things that we've been trying to monitor and how our guys are hydrating. Obviously, we know September is usually hot, and we usually have a huge training camp that gets them acclimated to this hot weather. But we didn't have that this year. And so that's one of the things we saw early on both teams. When I talked to the physicians from the Colts as well, we're seeing guys that may not have hydrated or get used to the heat as much as they do in a normal season. So that's one thing we've really been focusing on. And along with that comes soft tissue injuries, things like calf strains and hamstring strains. And then, on the other side of the ball, we saw Marlon Mack go down with an Achilles injury. And that is somewhat of a soft tissue injury. It's just a soft tissue injury that's gone too far. So those are the things that we see early on, at least this year. We see that in any season, but I think we're watching out for that more this season than we have in the past.
And you would say, of course, to patients, drink before you go work out or play. And while you're in the process of doing that all at the same time, is that the same advice for players as well? And how do you keep them on task to keep them as hydrated as possible?
Yeah, it's a real common misconception that all you need to do is drink a little bit before the game and you're ready to go. And we really preach hydration and nutrition all week long. These guys, from the minute they finish the game, we're trying to get them ready for the next week. And we have a nutrition nutritionist, Mindy Black in the stadium, and we refer guys that have hydration issues to her. We do special tests called sweat tests to see how they're losing their hydration. In other words, when we sweat, we're losing liquid, fluid, water, and also salt basically, and electrolytes. And so we can measure that to see, how these guys are hydrating throughout the week, because it's not just about come in and get an IV before the game. And that's a very common misconception. We want to try to avoid that. And hydrating all week long and seeing how they're doing throughout the week is much more important than what you're doing, 5 minutes before the game. Because once you're thirsty and once you get to that point where you're cramping, it's, the cat's out of the bag. So we're trying to do a lot of things prior to the game to avoid those types of situations.
Dr. Kevin Kaplan joins us each Sunday on the Publix Tailgate Show, and we're just getting started on this Sunday. When we return, CBS Sports play-by-play announcer Andrew Catalon explains his perspective on the Jags' Week 1 win and what the Jags need to do to knock off the Titans today in Week 2. Jags-Titans coming up in Nashville at 1 o'clock Eastern, and from TIAA Bank Field in Jacksonville. This is the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
Slot right, blue 42, hot. A great quarterback is a true leader with a work ethic that never wavers and a desire to win that is second to none. We know a truck like that. Ford F-Series, America's best-selling truck 43 years straight. With impressive towing and payload, Ford F-150 makes tough jobs look easy. Visit your local Ford dealer for great offers on F-150, official truck of the NFL. Based on 1977 to 2019 calendar year total sales.
At most sandwich places, asking for more of something is just part of the drill. But what if you never had to ask for more? What if more was just a given? At Daly's, more is what our sandwiches are built on. More meat, more cheese, more veggies, more quality, more taste. All for a price that's anything but more. Sandwiches from Dash, made fresh. Daly's.
At ViStar, we believe in better. And that means treating people better with friendly, personal service that's kept our members happy since 1952. A smile and personal greeting when you enter the branch, an online or phone chat for those quick questions, and a call center that's open every day. If you believe that great service is better, join ViStar. We never forget that it's your money. All loans subject to approval, insured by NCUA.
This is Chantel Baker, fiance of DJ Chark. Enter for your chance to win a once-in-a-lifetime experience with the Jaguars. Imagine being selected as a Jaguar for the day with prizes including the opportunity to test your skills with the Jaguars team trainer, a personalized Jaguars jersey, club-level tickets to a Jaguars home game, and more. Look for details at Publix where you can pick up all your game day needs, including Tide, Bounty, and Crest. Tackle everything in one stop. Available at Publix where shopping is a pleasure.
Committed to the team. Committed to the mission. At Navy Mutual, we're committed to providing high-quality life insurance to members of the military and their families. So our policies have no fine print and no military service restrictions. We don't work on commission. We're nonprofit, so we pass the savings along to our members. Because at Navy Mutual, our highest commitment is to you. Visit NavyMutual.org. Navy Mutual, insuring those who serve.
If something's been hurting, aching, or bothering you, don't ignore it any longer. It's time to take care of your health again. It's time to make an appointment with a Baptist Health primary care doctor or specialist. Call 904-202-4U to schedule a virtual visit or see a doctor in person at a Baptist Health location. The time for better health is here. Call 904-202-4YOU or visit getbetterjacks.com.
Jaguars Game Day presented by ViStar Credit Union. JP Shadrick, Mike Dempsey from the Hanania Subaru of Orange Park studio at TIAA Bank Field. The Publix Tailgate Show rolls along. Jags Titans in Nashville in week 2. This portion of the Publix Tailgate Show is brought to you by your Southern Ford dealers. Every team in the league, Mike, that was at home last week is on the road this week and vice versa. It's the first time I think that's happened in a long time in the NFL, but they worked through the scheduling this year to ensure if, hey, we got to change week 1 or week 2, that it's all that it would be equitable, I guess, the rest of the way. But so far, so good. We've played all the games.
Right, and they also made the schedule so that everyone who faces everyone else this week had the same bye week in case something happened after the first week of close contact with other teams that you weren't exposed to, and they had to cancel or postpone some games. Obviously, that didn't happen. I mean, really, the NFL and most of the professional sports leagues have done a tremendous job dealing with COVID-19. And so, good. We move on, and I don't think there's anything wrong with the balancing out the schedule early on, right? I mean, 0-2 in the past has been a daunting hill to overcome to make the postseason. It'll probably be different this year because you've got a third wild card in each conference, and the bar won't be as high. But what's wrong with letting everybody else have a chance to have a home and away game in the first couple weeks of the season?
Let's hear now from a man who's called a lot of Jaguars football over the last few years, Andrew Catalon of CBS Sports. The Jags got a big win last week over the Colts, of course, and got an early jump on the division. And now it's on to a place where they've struggled as of late.
Welcome back to the AFC South, Andrew. How are you?
JP, it's always great chatting with you and getting to see the Jags here in week 2.
Yeah, week 2, and the 1-0 tied for first place Jaguars. This is a battle for first place in the AFC South. Now, I said that on the Doug Marrone show Thursday night, and Coach Marrone put his hands up and said, you need to slow down. This is a young football team, the youngest in the National Football League after week 1, in fact. It's been a season of change around here. Player defections, some trades, some guys who've been chirping at the organization on social media after they left. But it feels like, talking to Marrone and Dave Caldwell, they've tried to put the best team on the field they can. They're trying to get the salary cap in order. They know they have to win games. It's a big challenge, everything going on at the same time.
Yeah, wow. I mean, that's the first word that comes to mind when you think about the last 12 months in Jacksonville. And I think winning cures all. And that week 1 victory over Indianapolis, I think, really sets a nice tone for the season. Now, could that get thrown off the rails here in Tennessee? Sure. But I just feel like the direction of the franchise is pointed up, and it's going to take time. I think we know that. They've got a lot of draft stock coming up, but it just seems like Doug Marrone is in a pretty good place with this team. He said he's never felt closer to a team before, which is really amazing considering he wasn't even around the team in person for the majority of 2020. So I think that, yes, there's been some defections and some players who have left who have not said the nicest of things, but at the same time, it does seem like the 53 that are here are all together. And to me, that's half the battle in the NFL.
Last Sunday was our first real look at what this thing was going to be, and our first look at Gardner Minshew in his second season. 19 of 20, so very efficient, obviously. One of the most, if not the most efficient day in league history, depending on which standards you want to use. But a lot of that was not downfield. I'm interested to see how that changes as the year goes along. Minshew's mindset, I don't think, will change because that's kind of who he is. The guy he was last year is the guy he is this year, personality-wise. He's going to have the offense down. What did you take away from your conversation with Gardner this week after that performance a week ago and kind of getting into this new offense with Jay Gruden?
Well, I think first things first, you're right. He has not changed at all. I mean, we had a number of games with Gardner last season, getting to know him and sitting in the production meetings, and he's the same exact guy. And I think that's great. I mean, I don't think that anything is really going to change him. He is who he is. I think he's going to be a good leader on this team, but he's still eccentric and he still wants to win. And that's the bottom line. I mean, this guy is so competitive. He wants to win each and every play. Now, when you look at week 1, they only ran 47 plays, which was the fewest in the NFL in week 1. So I think that it's going to take some time before we see some of these deeper routes or some different, curveballs from Jay Gruden. But what I did see, I liked. I mean, Minshew connected with 10 different receivers, which was tied for the most of any team in the opening week. I think that they have the ability to really grow Laviska Shenault's role throughout the season. I think that's something that will continue to evolve And look, I mean, James Robinson seems like he's up for the task. So I think that there's a lot of encouraging signs from this offense in week one. But again, it was on a very small scale since they only ran 47 plays.
Andrew Catalon with us, CBS Sports. He has the call of today's Jaguars-Titans game at Nissan Stadium in Nashville. Now, public enemy number one this week for the Jaguars defense, of course, is Derrick Henry. We know firsthand the type of big play ability that he has. That's the task this week for the Jaguars defense is how do you have a tackling plan against Derrick Henry? And I feel like we have this conversation every time the Jags and Titans play, but a lot of times it doesn't go so well.
Well, yeah, the numbers are pretty scary when you look up what Henry has done against Jacksonville, specifically in Nashville. And we talked with Josh Allen, our CBS crew did this week, and asked him, what's the key to bringing Henry down? And he's like, look, you got to get him early. You got to hit him low. You got to hit him hard. And the linebackers have to be coming downhill. That's a long checklist to tackle this guy. But at the same time, I think we've seen just how dynamic he can be. 31 carries on Monday night in Denver, and it doesn't seem like he wears down at the end of the game. If anything, you look at the numbers, his second half numbers are better than the first half because he's wearing down the defense. So he is a monumental challenge for this Jacksonville D. And what's more dangerous about Tennessee lately, too, is the way they use the play action off of Henry. Ryan Tannehill is one of the best QBs going back to last year in play action. So it's a tough little 1-2 punch for this Jacksonville defense because they've seen him before. They just haven't really stopped him lately. So he weak.
It helps that Miles Jack had a big ball game last week. It might have been the best game. One of the best games since the playoff run of 2017. He had some monster games in that season. But since then, with the move to the weak side linebacker position, he stepped out and had 11 tackles last week. That's certainly key in a game like this to have a big thumper at the linebacker position that can get some contact on Derrick Henry. It's good to have Miles Jack playing at the high level, and they think that can continue as the season goes along. That'd be huge for this defense.
Yeah, Doug Marrone said he thought it was probably the best game that Jack's played. He thought he was one of the better players on the field against Indianapolis in week one. And also what Coach Marrone told us is that obviously Miles is so versatile. He's played all the linebacker positions, but I think there's a sense that from this staff that all along this is his best spot. And there was times in the past where, he had to play in other positions out of need. But now with Joe Schobert, who does a great job calling the defense, such a smart player, I think it frees up Miles to maybe be at his best. And you're right, especially in a game like this, they need their linebackers to have great games. And certainly it's encouraging from a Jacksonville perspective that Miles is coming off one of the best games of his career.
All right, Andrew, strap up. It's going to be a physical game today. The Jags and the Titans, it always seems to be. And it's for first place in the AFC South, though we have to tap the brakes. It is week 2. This should be a fun one today.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think that Tennessee is an exciting team, but I think that Jacksonville, with all these young players, there's so much to watch for from the Jaguar side, and who's going to continue to emerge and who's going to make a play. So I think it's going to be a fun game, and I'm looking forward to it.
Andrew Catalon has the call today on CBS Sports, and we've seen a lot of Andrew over the years, which is a good thing. He's a good guy, and we appreciate his time this week. We'll look forward to his call today as well. The Jags have introduced Jags at Home, an interactive second-screen experience on Jags game days featuring Ashlyn Sullivan and Eric Dunn. Each Sunday, you'll have the chance to win $10,000 in cash and prizes. Visit jagsathome.com for more information on how you can play. We're back in a moment on the Publix Tailgate Show, Mike. We'll have Ben McAdoo, Jaguars quarterbacks coach.
Looking forward to it.
We'll get the mindset of Gardner Minshew after one of the most efficient days in league history last week, and some insight into today's matchup against the Titans. Jags and Titans coming up in Nashville, and from TIAA Bank Field, this is the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
Brooks Rehabilitation outpatient locations throughout Florida are currently open and accepting in-person and telehealth appointments. They're following CDC guidelines to include screenings, temperature checks, face masks, social distancing, and additional sanitizing of all surfaces. They're taking extra precautions to ensure your safety so you can focus on your recovery. Please call their central intake unit at 904-345-7277, option 3, to schedule your visit. Brooks Rehabilitation is the official rehabilitation provider for the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Every 51 minutes, someone dies in a drunk driving crash. If you think it can't happen to you or that your actions won't affect others, think again. I got behind the wheel drunk and caused a crash that took the lives of 2 young women. Before you drink, have a plan and know all your options. One bad decision can last forever. Take it from me, Eric, prison inmate P22679.
This message brought to you by the Florida Department of Transportation.
Storm season is here, and JEA is doing everything possible to prepare. We've invested millions in hardening our electric, water, and sewer systems to make them more resistant to extreme weather. By updating your contact information and signing up for alerts, you'll also be better prepared if a storm hits. And in the event we need to restore your power, we can keep you up to date on our efforts and get you back to normal sooner. Update your contact info today at JEA.com. JEA, building a more prepared community.
Slot right, blue 42, hot, hot. A great quarterback is a true leader with a work ethic that never wavers and a desire to win that is second to none. We know a truck like that. Ford F-Series, America's best-selling truck 43 years straight. With impressive towing and payload, Ford F-150 makes tough jobs look easy. Visit your local Ford dealer for great offers on F-150, official truck of the NFL. Based on 1977 to 2019 calendar year total sales.
Hi, I'm Tito Beveridge, founder and master distiller at Tito's Handmade Vodka. In 1997, we became the first micro distillery in the state of Texas, and we're still making the same smooth stuff after all these years. We're still cooking in a pot still, working with our dogs by our sides, having fun and tasting batches, and I'm still wearing the same hat even after all these years. Head over to Tito'sVodka.com to learn more about what else we're doing the same. Cheers. 80 proof Tito's Handmade Vodka, distilled and bottled in Austin, Texas. Tito'sVodka.com.
Why live with foot or ankle pain? If you have persistent pain, numbness, tingling, burning pain on the bottom of your foot, or swelling that doesn't improve with home treatment, it may be time to see Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute. Our foot and ankle specialists have innovative new options to help you get back in the swing of things without persistent pain that slows you down. Call JOI 2000 or go to joionline.net for an appointment.
The Publix Tailgate Show continues. JP Shadrick, Mike Dempsey from the Hanania Subaru of Orange Park Studio at TIAA Bank Field in Jacksonville. The Jags and the Titans coming up in Nashville today. Gardner Minshew's day last week, 19 of 20, 3 touchdowns. Pretty good day at the office. Got a W. And we were mentioning Jay Gruden earlier and the relationship there between the quarterback and the OC, but I'm interested in this relationship as well with his quarterbacks coach, Ben McAdoo. Mike, this is one where McAdoo's been around working with quarterbacks for a long time, a lot of high-profile quarterbacks, and I'm curious, and we'll hear it in a moment, what he can bring to Gardner from those past experiences.
Yeah, you've got some coaches with pretty good resumes getting the best out of quarterbacks, so hopefully they'll do that with Gardner. Gardner apparently does not like the ball to hit the ground in the opening week, man. I mean, that's 4 incompletions out of 45 attempts for him in 2 opening season games.
Ben McAdoo, quarterbacks coach for the Jaguars, gives us some insight to what Minshew did last week to make it all work.
How have you settled in this offseason? It's strange for everybody, but it has to be difficult for a position coach to not be able to interact physically with the position group. That had to be challenging coming in for the first time.
Yeah, things, it was interesting because I get hired. I'm kind of in the building a couple of weeks. We go to Indianapolis, we come back, and we're out of the building. So it was, we had to move up here. I was living about an hour south of here. So we had to move my family on up here, and we just spent a lot of time. I have a little office there at home and spent a lot of time on the computer trying to teach footwork on a computer. Looking at somebody's face isn't ideal, but we tried to pontificate on the finer points of footwork and fundamentals as best we could on tape, and just having conversations on it. So when we had a chance to get together and really work it, we could do that. And you have to give credit to all the guys, not just Gardner, but all the quarterbacks. They spent a lot of time on their own doing drills and doing the things that we were going to be doing. So they had a head start when we got together.
Since you've had offensive coordinator and head coach experience since you were last a position coach, is there anything that can help you now that you're back as a position coach that you learned as a coordinator and a head coach? Maybe a bigger picture look at things, and how do you narrow that back down to the quarterback room?
Yeah, I first and foremost, I want to be for Doug what I wanted my assistants to be for me in New York. I want to be a great assistant for him, a loyal assistant, hardworking. Anything he needs, I'm gonna do, and do it to the best of my ability, and really help Jay bring the vision for his offense alive, and help Gardner and Jay kind of get together and get that vision to show up on the field, to show up on Sundays. I'm right now I'm wearing my position coach hat. I got a couple different hats I can wear at any point in time, but I try to stay in my lane, wear my position coach hat, and if I see something that I think can help us, then I'll try to relay it to the right people in the right kind of way, and stay in my lane at the same time.
Ben McAdoo with us, and I want to go back to your time in Green Bay and maybe some of the lessons you learned coming up the coaching ranks there that go to today. They have this thing called the quarterback school, and we've read about this under Mike McCarthy there. That was when you were coming up in the position ranks. Mm-hmm. What did you take from that time there that you can use now for your quarterback room here in Jacksonville? Do you reference back to things? Take us through what the heck the quarterback school is to begin with.
Yeah, no, it's just it started when I was my first year in New Orleans in 2004 to San Francisco to Green Bay, carried it to New York, and now I've brought it here. And really it just goes back to a systematic way to training the quarterback to make sure his fundamentals time up with everything we're doing. And it really takes a lot of buy-in from the players. And, I credit, going to New York, Eli Manning for buying into it. And I come here and, the guys in the room, Gardner leading the way, have bought into it. And it takes years really to get the fundamentals down the way you wanted to. And without an off season, they're coming. They're not where we want to be, but thank God we're not where we used to be. So we're making progress there. And, just spending time in Green Bay, watching Brett go through it and watching Aaron go through it gave me some great, I learned a great deal. And Mike McCarthy obviously has been a great mentor in my life. And I learned a lot from him, and watching him work with those guys, and then having a chance to work with Aaron and then take it to all the places that I've been since then. And, the guys have bought into it here. I believe in it with 100%, with my whole heart and head. And it's a difference maker. It just takes time to really get it down, and time is what we have.
Let's get into the quarterback. Gardner Minshew last week, certainly efficient, 19 of 20, 173 yards, 3 touchdowns. How do you assess a performance like that? I know it's pretty darn close to perfect statistically, but as Jay Gruden said this week, there are always coaching points. What do you make of that performance last week?
I think when you go out and you get a win, and you have a performance like Gardner had, it's a great opportunity to really go in and nitpick and find anything you can possible to address and to correct, and really get it out there. And Gardner's great about it. He wants to get better. He wants to be held to the highest standards. And we're not going to change. We're going to have the highest standards and hold him accountable. And he wants to be held accountable. So that part of it is good. The production was good. We're going to work on cleaning that incompletion. And but we're always going to be positive, and we're going to work to address anything that we see on tape. And we're not results oriented. We want to make sure we get the tape to look the way we want it to look.
We've always heard about Gardner's football acumen, football IQ, with so many changes he had in college, so many different offenses. How real is that with Gardner? And how can you compare that type of football IQ to somebody maybe you've had in the past?
Yeah, certainly, he doesn't have a small brain. He's a guy, he's got a big brain, he's got brain power, and that's a big asset to have in the quarterback room, because a lot of times things get said one time and you don't really get a chance to talk about it more than once. It may be in passing, it may be walking up and down the hall, and that information has to digest and carry over to Sundays. And there's a lot of, the more pebbles you add in the wheelbarrow, the heavier that wheelbarrow gets. And we certainly add pebbles throughout the week and make it heavy for him, but he certainly has shown that he can handle it. And he does a good job preparing. It's not just that there are a lot of smart guys that play quarterback, but the key's to being able to prepare and
have a nice routine that can take them through the week so they have a chance to, address things, review things, and get ready for the next day. And he does a good job there.
Good visit there with Ben McAdoo, quarterbacks coach for the Jags, and he's been around now, working with a lot of big-name quarterbacks over the years.
Yeah, and I think repeating the theme that we've heard about Gardner since the day they drafted him is that you cannot overload him with information. He can process it all, and coaches love that because you can put a lot on the guy. He's not going to get overwhelmed. Now, whether he physically can execute everything to the degree you want him to, that, will play out on the field, but it's not going to be because he can't process the information you're throwing at him.
Time now for our weekly visit with Jags sideline reporter Rick Ballou, presented by McGowan's Heating and Air. We call it Has Rick Lost It?
Lambeau Field, the 12th man, Arrowhead, the Black Hole, Nissan Stadium. Yeah, it doesn't sound intimidating, not at all. Certainly not compared to those football cathedrals, but it has been a major problem for the Jaguars as of late. We all know they've lost their last 6 there. Happen to be there for it, and it hasn't been kind. It's also been very cold. Take into consideration last year's game, 42-20, played on November 24th. Back in the years 2015, 17, and 18, all 3 of those games happened in December. 2 of them in very late December. Back in 2014 and 16, those games happened in late October. What does that mean? Well, in most cases, the Jaguars were out of it, set aside 2017. Jaguars didn't have a lot to play for. Tennessee did. It was also bitter cold in many of those games. Not today. Game 2, warm. The Jags are buzzing. The Jags are rolling. They had the major upset a week ago. There's a lot of people, including Blaine Bishop, former Titan, who I talked to on my show on Friday, who believe Jaguars are ripe to come in there and grab themselves a victory. Doug Marrone even talked about it earlier in the week when it comes to trends and situations like this. Take into consideration last week. All right, the Colts, they hadn't won here since 2014. The Colts hadn't won on opening day since 2013. It was talked about throughout. Marrone said, who cares? I'm not even going to look at that type of stuff. Everything changes. Absolutely, the players do. So I think that is intriguing that the coach, even at this point in his career, has actually changed his way of thinking as far as this coming into play. Now, it's the youngest team in the NFL. 25 years, 5 days. We're talking about 16 rookies on the 53-man roster. 7 players in their second year. That includes quarterback Gardner Minshew. Nearly flawless a week ago. He's not concerned about going in the Nissan. We asked him earlier in the week, and we asked all the players this virtually speaking. They're not even aware of it. It's as if they don't even know. Minshew's memory is a victory here. He was the quarterback 20-7 on a Thursday night against Tennessee. It was Nick Foles who was under center when they lost later in the year. So it's a big story. It's a talking point. The fans are aware of it. The media have talked about it. The players, I think for them, it's another game. We'll find out if this streak gets snapped as well coming up in just a couple of hours.
Has Rick Lost It? Presented by McGowan's Heating and Air, proudly keeping your family comfortable since 1974. Call 904-264-COOL. We're back in a moment on the Publix Tailgate Show. Keelan Cole with Ashlyn Sullivan in our Baptist Health Connection with a Player. This is the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
Storm season is here, and JEA is doing everything possible to prepare. We've invested millions in hardening our electric, water, and sewer systems to make them more resistant to extreme weather. By updating your contact information and signing up for alerts, you'll also be better prepared if a storm hits. And in the event we need to restore your power, we can keep you up to date on our efforts and get you back to normal sooner. Update your contact info today at JEA.com. JEA, building a more prepared community.
Kessler Creative, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars, has the large format printing services running in high gear, creating large banners for marketing events, full vehicle wraps. Learn how Kessler changes the game with print and direct mail innovation. From eye-catching restaurant menus to real estate yard signs and event displays, Kessler does it all. Kessler Creative, Jacksonville, Florida. Results-driven marketing and a proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
If something's been hurting, aching, or bothering you, don't ignore it any longer. It's time to take care of your health again. It's time to make an appointment with a Baptist Health primary care doctor or specialist. Call 904-202-4U to schedule a virtual visit or see a doctor in person at a Baptist Health location. The time for better health is here. Call 904-202-4YOU or visit getbetterjacks.com.
Brooks Rehabilitation outpatient locations throughout Florida are currently open and accepting in-person and telehealth appointments. They're following CDC guidelines to include screenings, temperature checks, face masks, social distancing, and additional sanitizing of all surfaces. They're taking extra precautions to ensure your safety so you can focus on your recovery. Please call their central intake unit at 904-345-7277, option 3 to schedule your visit. Brooks Rehabilitation is the official rehabilitation provider for the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Headquartered right here in Jacksonville, the CSI Companies is one of the fastest growing staffing firms in the nation. As a proud partner of your Jacksonville Jaguars, CSI knows how important it is to find the right people for your team. See why some of Jacksonville's top companies choose CSI for their staffing needs. Visit thecsicompanies.com or call 800-582-0828 today. That's 800-582-0828 for the CSI Companies.
If you've ever been in a vehicle crash, then you know the impact caused by a collision. Now imagine the force of a crash so great, people are killed. My name is Eric. I sat behind the wheel and drove drunk. I caused a crash that killed 2 young women, Megan and Lisa. Now, I sit alone in my jail cell. Megan and Lisa were taken forever, and their families and friends were left devastated. Don't drink and drive. And remember, our roadways are connected to our families.
This message brought to you by the Florida Department of Transportation.
Jaguars Game Day presented by ViStar Credit Union. The Publix Tailgate show rolls along. JP Shadrick, Mike Dempsey, and every week, Crystal is a part of our Game Day tradition. Get a box of Crystals to go, or the Crystal Chicks. That's my favorite.
I didn't know they had the pulled pork little mini crystals.
Those
were quite popular last
They
week.
were. They might
Barbecue
be
pulled pork.
going up the rankings in terms of favorites. Yes.
They've got a lot of options. They bring you a lot of it. I don't know what there is to complain about. We loved it.
Absolutely. And every week, they're a portion of the Publix Tailgate show, Crystal, joining us. Make it part of your game day routine as well. Jags social channels chock full of inside access each week, including the Jags Instagram page, where Jaguars reporter Ashlyn Sullivan caught up this week with wide receiver Keelan Cole. It's the Baptist Health connection with a player.
How has this first week been? We haven't talked to you in so long because of COVID. Normally I'm in the locker room annoying you by now.
It's been going good. Just hanging in there, going through all this stuff going on in the world and stuff, and just trying to do things the right way.
Right, and training camp was so strange and seemed so long with no preseason games. But now that you guys are back to normal football in the regular season, does it kind of feel normal like the past seasons?
Nah, not at all. I mean, we still got protocols and we travel and stuff, and we get tested every day. So COVID's always in the back of at least me, back of my mind.
Yeah, there were a lot of questions from fans about the shields you wore during the game and that you were one of the few that wore them. What went into wanting to do that, and is that something you're looking to do the rest of the year?
Just trying to stay safe, the best way I can. And, I mean, the situation's already kind of tough, so I'm just trying to do the best I can and help others stay safe, and that's what I feel like was my way of showing I'm still trying.
Yeah, I feel like at times now that football's back, it's like COVID at times goes in the back of the mind, but when you walk into that stadium, it still is very prevalent that it's still here. All right, so let's talk about Sunday's game. Big win against the Colts. Big touchdown from you. Airplane wings come out. Was it planned? Is this something you've thought about for a long time?
No, it wasn't planned. So y'all can get off Minshew because it wasn't planned, and he just so happens to be the furthest one from us. So it's just, just excitement when you score a touchdown or do anything big play. I'm sure every celebration we do is just off the top of the head, probably something we've seen as a kid, and we just want to always wanted to do it on TV. But the game was great. It was good to see everybody execute and come together and just work for a win.
Yeah, Minshew at first, Sunday's press conference, was a little upset. He's like, they don't involve me. But today he kind of cleared the air and said because he's so far away at times in the huddle, he's hearing the play call. You guys are talking about celebration. It just doesn't click.
Oh, sometimes we do talk about it, but we never really follow through with it sometimes, I'm not going to lie. But sometimes we do talk about it in the huddle, but when it always falls apart as soon as it happens. I don't know what goes down, but.
Yeah, Laviska was saying he had this whole thing planned out. Then, like, right before you guys were in the huddle and someone's like, let's do bowling. He's like, fine, all right, we'll do bowling.
Yeah. See, and that's mostly what happens because it's always probably a vet, probably a lender or somebody like, no, we should do this instead. And be like, all right, let's do it.
You don't exactly have a lot of time to plan.
Right.
In the huddle, at least. Do you purposely leave Minshew out? Because that's what everyone's getting to.
I mean, if you think about it, we're waiting on him. He is the time. He's the clock. I was just about to say, like, when he gets in, we're all quiet anyway, so he probably never hears anything.
He's got bigger things on his mind.
Right.
Keelan Cole, touchdown last week with Ashlyn Sullivan on Instagram Live. The Baptist Health connection with a player. Baptist Health, changing healthcare for good. And catch Ashlyn every week on Jaguars Instagram Live. Time now for our weekly visit with Jags Director of Player Development, Marcus Pollard. He takes us inside the team after a Week 1 win over his old team, the Indianapolis Colts.
Marcus Pollard, how are you?
Holding it down, JP, as usual.
You always are, absolutely. And the Jaguars, Marcus, are holding it down, after a win over the Colts last week. And talking to Doug Marrone after the game on the postgame show, it really supported what he had said earlier before that game, that he thought this was a group that could handle adversity. But, boy, they really did in Week 1. They needed it down to the very end and got it done.
Yeah, that's the really cool part about this young football team is, you can't manufacture adversity. You only can create it when it happens. And so when you play an NFL game and stuff happens, and to see such resiliency and being able to stick together and intuitiveness for those guys to stick together, even battling and overcome adversity with such a young football team, speaks volumes for the kind of men and integrity and fight that Doug and Davis put together for this Jacksonville Jaguar team.
Let's get to the play of the quarterback, Gardner Minshew, 19 of 20 passing, 3 touchdown passes. It looked like the game that we kind of had in mind going in. You know what? Get it out to the playmakers. Let those guys do all the work downfield. And it worked out for Gardner. It seemed like a pretty manageable type of day for him, and he really obviously managed it very well.
Yeah, I think so. I think Gardner's done a lot of things to progress his skill set this offseason with the work that he's done, on the West Coast. He spent a whole bunch of time voluntarily playing with their guys, over at Episcopal, getting ready. And so I think all that work that those guys put in this summer and learning and leaning on one another and work that Gardner's put in on himself privately to get ready for the season paid dividends on Sunday. And you can see it in his throw. You can see it in his accuracy. You can see it in his patience in the pocket. And then when you surround him with talent like we have at the receiver position, you get a good stable of running backs and a good stable of tight ends and a really well-oiled machine, veteran offensive line, good things are going to happen.
You got to love it when the lights come on. He really turns it up a little bit, it feels like, which is good news for this team. You mentioned a few of those positions, but most of those positions have rookies contributing. James Robinson made his NFL debut last week, and I think opened some eyes early. Laviska Shenault was lining up all over the field. And then on defense, of course, C.J. Henderson had a fantastic day, 5 tackles and an interception. Well, at some point, rookies have to impact this team if this team is going to win. There are so many of them, but those guys really had a big day last week.
Yeah, it's encouraging to see such young talent thrive under the first lights, if you will. No preseason games, no real games to really get them, real snaps to see what they can actually do and to see them go out and perform the way they did in their first time with the lights being on an NFL game with that superior talent across the field that they played against speaks volumes for just the kind of talented people that they are. And just excited to see, CJ having this feeling like he's got to be the new Jalen Ramsey. I got to come in and make all these plays. And to see him go out with that kind of adversity and that sort of a pressure on him, to see him go out and play well. Excited to see that.
Obviously, the Jags have had some success here in Jacksonville over the last few years against Tennessee, but going to Nashville has been just a pain in the you-know-what. The last win there was 2013. That's been a while. Will Blackman had a sack, fumble, recovery, and a touchdown to really get that win. That was a long time ago. Why is it so hard to win in Nashville?
Yeah, that I do remember that game and Will making that play, stripping the ball from the quarterback and going scoring a touchdown. I think it's just, Tennessee is one of those places where it's tough to play because they got a great fan base. They're a very well-coached team. They play hard. They've had great players. And so when you go on the road and you travel, it's just like any game in the NFL. You talk about home field advantage, and I think that's the one thing that Tennessee has on us right now. They definitely have that home field advantage over us, and we just have to come out this week and put forth that same effort that we did last week against the Colts, and we just have to do it on the road.
All right, it's a battle for first place in the AFC South, the Titans and the Jags coming up, and we've got your Players of the Week coming up, Marcus. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Marcus Pollard, Director of Player Development. He also has the CSX High School Player of the Week and the Whataburger High School Coach of the Week every week, and we have 2 weeks' worth this week, Mike. Week 1, you go back to Baldwin High School senior outside linebacker Tyson McClendon as the CSX High School Player of the Week. A big win over Westside. He had 9 tackles, 7 solo that week. A vocal leader and loves the game of football. The Whataburger High School Coach of the Week for Week 1, Andrew Jackson head coach Christopher Foy. They knocked off Inglewood 36-7. He was a 1990 graduate of Andrew Jackson. It's his first year as a head coach, and they're using the motto, "Don't mess with together." Congratulations. Week 2, the Player of the Week presented by CSX, Damian Springs. There's the head coach, rather. That's the Whataburger Coach of the Week, Damian Springs of Fleming Island. The win over Fletcher High School got that done. He's been on staff there since 2004 and the head coach since 2013. Congratulations to Coach Springs. And Preston Strobe of Creekside High School went for 154 yards and 3 touchdowns in the win over First Coast. He is the CSX High School Player of the Week for Week 2. Congratulations to all those gentlemen on those awards. We present those every week here on the Publix Tailgate Show. Coming up, the second hour of the Publix Tailgate Show. Top headlines, we'll have First Rounds on Us, our weekly visit with our resident first rounders, Tony Vaselli and Jeff Lageman. The Jags and the Titans coming up at 1 o'clock. And from TIAA Bank Field, this is the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
Of Orange Park would like to present our dealers 18 acres of vehicles to choose from and our new online buying program, iBuy. You decide how much of your buying experience you do online. Browsing, value your trade, picking your payments, financing. Just go to SubaruOfOrangePark.com, pick out your vehicle, and click iBuy to begin. Become an iBuy preferred customer at Hanania Subaru of Orange Park, your local Subaru superstore.
Kessler Creative, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars, has the large format printing services running in high gear, creating large banners for marketing events, full vehicle wraps. Learn how Kessler changes the game with print and direct mail innovation. From eye-catching restaurant menus to real estate yard signs and event displays, Kessler does it all. Kessler Creative, Jacksonville, Florida. Results-driven marketing and a proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
I'm Chantel Baker, fiance of DJ Chark. My fiance is always prepared with a game day plan, and so am I. I'm always looking for easy ways to save time, and Publix helps me tackle everything from pre-game prep to post-game cleanup with prices that are never out of bounds.
This week at Publix, assorted varieties and sizes of Tide Pods or Tide Liquid Laundry Detergent are on sale for $12.49.
Available at Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
Jaguars fans, did you know that with Drizzly, you can get Tito's handmade vodka delivered to your door in under 60 minutes? Well, you can. And now they're giving all fans $10 off their first order. Use the code JAGS10 at checkout. Just download the Drizzly app or go to drizzly.com and make sure you're all set to mix it up with Tito's handmade vodka for the perfect game day. That's DRIZLY.com. And remember to use the special code JAGS10 to save $10 on your first order. 80 proof Tito's handmade vodka. Distilled and bottled in Austin, Texas. Crafted to be savored responsibly.
Hey Jags fans, it's Ashlyn Sullivan.
And Eric Dunn.
Here to tell you about our new
at-home
game day experience.
Each game, home or away, we're giving out cash prizes at the end of each quarter, totaling $10,000.
Cash?
Yes, cash money, y'all. Join us at www.jagsathome.com and play along.
Yeah, but we gotta tell them how to play.
Right, that's the easy part.
While you're watching the game on your big screen, visit www.jagsathome.com on your mobile device, tablet, or desktop, and answer Jags trivia and predictive gaming questions that appear on your screen.
The fan with the most points at the end of each quarter will take home a piece of the $10,000 cash prize.
And the leaderboard will refresh at the start of each quarter, giving you multiple chances to win even more cash.
www.jagsathome.com. Home and away.
We will see you all this Sunday at jagsathome.com.
The Publix Tailgate Show continues right now.
Welcome back. Second hour of the Publix Tailgate Show underway. JP Shadrick along with Mike Dempsey from the Hanania Subaru of Orange Park Studio. We're at TIAA Bank Field in Jacksonville, and 1 o'clock the kickoff time today for the Jags and Titans at Nissan Stadium in Nashville. First road trip of the year. A little different, obviously, with the COVID thing going on and restrictions, travel restrictions. No fans in the stands today, but talking to Hamza Ahmad this week, the director of team logistics and travel, you know, they've had to reduce the capacity on the charter plane. The broadcasters aren't going. The sponsors aren't going this year. It's really the football team and the folks immediately around the team and the hotel space. I mean, they've had to keep the team away from other guests in the hotel, and the team can't leave the hotel. Usually it's you go out to dinner and you come back for meetings. None of that. Everything's grab-and-go food and much different feel. First, it's a different challenge for a young football team.
Oh, it is, but I think it's kind of levels the playing field a little bit here, right? You get a young team, and you got them focused. This is a business trip. You're all in one place. You're going to stay together. You're going to have team meetings, and you're going to get ready to play a football game. And when you go there, it's not going to be that home field, that home crowd advantage. I mean, even with the Jags having a limited capacity crowd, it makes a difference having people cheering for you, I think. So it's going to be more of a sterile environment this time around, JP. I think we're going to see a lot more road teams having success this season because of that. At least I think that's going to happen. So, you know, hopefully the Jags can go up today and, take advantage of an atmosphere that maybe the Titans are not able to draw any energy from.
There's only so much noise a cardboard cutout can make, and they've got a bunch of them in the stands today in Nashville. The Jags and the Titans coming up at 1 o'clock. Crystal clear, beautiful day in Nashville today, apparently. Low 70s, the temperature at the scheduled kickoff time at 1 o'clock. Let's get to today's top stories, and the Jags looking for a 2-0 start, something that many pundits would not see coming. Defensive end Josh Allen knows the perception outside the building, but they don't dwell on it.
I feel like it's always going to be that doubt when people think about us, and that's just the status quo we have to change around here. You know, we're really focusing on ourselves and how we play week in and week out. We're not really focused on the outside noise. We hear it all the time since freaking probably Jalen left that we weren't going to be a good team, and everybody left after that, and it's just been getting worse and worse. And now they saw us play last week, and now they're surprised. And so yeah, I think it's a big game for us.
Yeah, big game for sure. I mean, I could listen to him talk all day long, by the way, what we heard from him last week going into week one, and he feels like he's that cornerstone type of guy you can put a franchise on, but it makes a lot of sense. A lot of the big names left, so a lot of the national folks that look at it big picture think, these guys are gone. But inside here, they're confident in this group.
And that's fine, and I hope they have a little bit of an us against the world mentality. Sometimes that helps teams, but it's reasonable to look at everything that happens, say, man, this team may not be the most competitive team in the National Football League, right? It happens every year. There are surprise teams. So, if they want to take that as a slight, they're welcome to do that, but I don't think it's crazy for people to look at the way the offseason went to say, wow, this team is going to struggle for victories. Glad they got the first one. It's nice. You didn't have to wait till week 3 this year. So you go in with a little bit of momentum, and they believe in themselves. But the belief has got to translate this week to better pass rush, right? And last week it didn't matter. Phillip Rivers gets rid of the ball so quickly. In addition to the 31 runs by Derrick Henry, Ryan Tannehill dropped back on Monday night and threw it 43 times.
Wow.
So, if you can get a few big sacks and big situations here, get the Titans off the field, don't let Henry continue to chew up yardage, that's going to go a long way. So hopefully Josh Allen, Caleb Von Chason and company flash a little bit more in that department this week.
It would be nice, but of course the first part of that is stopping the run game.
Yeah, you
and
got to get them
forcing
in the
to
right
pass.
down and distance, sure.
And it's always a physical matchup in that regard between the Jags and the Titans. Defensive coordinator Todd Wash knows his group must be ready for a physical day, 60 minutes.
A little bit of credit, obviously, to Tennessee. They're a big physical team. They wear you down. I think we have the numbers that we need to go in there and rotate and stay fresh for 60 minutes. The biggest challenge, that we're talking about our guys is we have to win the physical battle. I think Coach Vrabel does a great job of developing his team that they are physically going to pound you for 60 minutes. And that's got to be the mindset we have, that we have to come back and counter that and battle them for a 60 minutes. Once again, hey, let's keep this thing close and let's find a way to win it late.
Yeah, one lapse is really all it takes, and all of a sudden he's out the gate and gone for 70 yards.
Well, it's that, and it's also if you sell out completely on Derrick Henry, Ryan Tannehill is really good at play action. Obviously, when you have a strong running game, that's what feeds your play action passing game. So if they have a little bit of early success, it puts you in an even more difficult situation as a defense.
Josh Jones, Jaguars safety, was out of football last year at this time, and now he's the starting strong safety for the team and led the team in tackles a week ago. And after a winding path to get here, he'll never take another opportunity for granted.
So I went through a lot of stuff, and now I'm able to, things that I went through, I'm able to pass it on to the younger guys, the younger rookies now, and say, hey, just learn to appreciate this game, man. Because 365 days ago, man, I was on the outside looking in, and I never wanted to experience that. And I never want anybody to go through that. Because if you love the game as much as I love the game, I was in a very, very dark place 365 days ago. So, and to be in this position, the only person I can thank is God.
It's a positive development certainly for this Jaguars defense. Ronnie Harrison was traded away, and Josh Jones has jumped into that starting role, and they loved what they saw from him in camp enough to part ways and send Ronnie on his way. So it's Josh Jones. He's the guy, and he had 12 tackles a week ago.
Yeah, he was looked fantastic. He flashed all over the place. But now it's not only him. Andrew Wingard has got to step up into that role as well with Jared Wilson now going on injured reserve. And Wingard came in and immediately made the big interception late in the contest. Now he's got to do that kind of high-level play, be ready to go, and not have any defensive busts for 60 minutes. We'll see if he's up to it.
Let's get to the Jaguars' offense now. And offensive coordinator Jay Gruden has a weapon in rookie receiver Laviska Shenault Jr., and he liked what he saw a week ago from the second-round draft pick.
Well, I thought he played well. First game out, you're never sure how the rookies are going to be, especially with some of the things we're trying to do with them. But from a mental standpoint, he did everything right. He did a good job. From a physical standpoint, he's what we thought he was. He's a physical guy in the running game, had some good blocks, had to dig out some safeties in the running game, which nobody sees. But when he had the ball in his hands, you can see how explosive he can be. So, we have a good group of guys, good group of weapons, and it's our job to spread it around. But I was impressed with Laviska.
Shenault obviously likes the way he's been used so far.
I think it's real big. I don't have to, do too much. I'm saying that because coming from college, I had to do a lot. I was doing a lot. So now I'm here. I'm able to do things, but I don't have to do too much. Great things are still happening. And it's good, that I'm able to, do these other things and get other people open or just to help out any type of way. And at the end of the day, I'm not tripping. I want to win. And I'm here to do whatever.
I'm not tripping either, Laviska. He was discussing there the pre-snap motion or a route drawing a defender down and getting another guy open. That worked a few times last week with him.
Yeah, and he's also talked recently about how, he's really had to study more. It's a different thing. He kind of, he's one of those guys who was clearly the best athlete on his team probably all throughout his life. And he could get by with that even at the collegiate level. And here, obviously you love to hear Jay Gruden say he did everything right. So he's been paying attention to detail, not making any mental mistakes. And if he could do that and get to the point where he's just playing reactive football and not thinking his way through it, the physical gifts are going to take over, and he's got a lot of them.
We obviously hear throughout the week from head coach Doug Marrone. They've got a 1-0 start. They haven't won in Nashville in a long time, but Marrone this week explaining his not-looking-back approach this year for a young football team.
You know, we kept our focus on a daily basis, and we kept our focus looking at the day and not getting too far ahead. And one of my things was I didn't want some of those players that were either new or young players to try to go, what was going on? You know, what happened? What are you trying to correct? What are you trying to do? Instead of, my goal was just to go ahead and say, hey, listen, this is the division I want to create for this year and with this football team.
It's a young team anyway. We know this. It's the youngest in the NFL after week 1, and then it becomes even younger on game day. I mean, they've elevated Ellefson from the practice squad again, as they did last week. So add that to the totals of youngsters, Jaguar Cubs, if you will, on this team, and you got to put the blinders on. Hey, we're focused on the next week, I think, and I think that helps a younger group really focus and not worry about all the noise outside.
Yeah, you know, like we said, it's weird in this way that you've got everybody kind of semi-quarantined together, and I think it promotes a sense of camaraderie, and you know, they're all in it. Look, they don't have a choice, JP. They've got a third of the team is rookies, and they're going to have to play. Not a lot of them in the starting lineup, but you know, your depth is going to be challenged with these young guys, and it was testament that we didn't really see a lot of youthful mistakes last week, so let's hope that continues.
Yeah, that would be nice. But at some point, you're going to have some of that. It's just nature, but let's keep it to a minimum, at least so far in this season. Now time for our weekly visit with the guru, David Lamb, with Lamb at Large.
Thanks, guys. Let's take a walk down memory lane. If you've been a Jaguar fan for less than 20 years, you probably don't understand why older fans loathe the Tennessee Titans so much. The year was 1999. Jacksonville's 5th in the NFL. Already the Jaguars were enjoying a dream season. They were 15-0 against NFL teams not named Titans. A 14-2 regular season was followed by a 62-7 playoff victory against Miami, a game that chased Dolphin greats coach Jimmy Johnson and quarterback Dan Marino into retirement. With a smothering defense and an offense featuring both Fred Taylor running behind Pro Bowl tackles Tony Maselli and Leon Searcy, and the passing trio of Mark Brunell, Jimmy Smith, and Keenan McCardell at its best, the Jaguars were dominant unless they were facing the Titans. The Titans were an outstanding team, too, going 13-3. The last of their 3 victories against Jacksonville was 31-14 victory in the AFC Championship game. The Jaguars led 14-10 at halftime in front of a packed home crowd, but Brunell was sacked for a third-quarter safety. And on the ensuing kickoff, it was returned for a touchdown by Derrick Mason. Game, set, match, season. The Titans went on to lose to the then St. Louis Rams in the Super Bowl by less than a yard. The Jaguars' defense, as great as it was, simply couldn't stop Eddie George running, Steve McNair passing, and tight end Frank Wycheck from making big play after big play, or shut up Coach Jeff Fisher. Only a handful of people in the Jaguars organization were around back then. One was McCardell, now the wide receivers coach. 2 others, PR Chief Dan Edwards and Mike Perkins, head of the video department. It was the end of an era for the Jaguars. 4 straight losing seasons followed. General Manager Coach Tom Coughlin was fired. Crowds started to dwindle. National talk of the Jaguars moving amped up. Jacksonville football has never been the same, all because of those damn Titans.
The comments of David Lamb are a weekly feature of the Publix Tailgate Show. He left out Skip Richardson, the director of team security, who's been here for a long time as well. We'll return in a moment. First round's on us. Our weekly visit with our resident first rounders, Tony Baselli and Jeff Lageman. The Jags and the Titans coming up at 1 o'clock. And from TIAA Bank Field, this is the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
I'm Chantel Baker, fiancé of DJ Chark. My fiancé is always prepared with a game day plan, and so am I. I'm always looking for easy ways to save time, and Publix helps me tackle everything from pregame prep to postgame cleanup with prices that are never out of bounds.
This week at Publix, assorted varieties of Downy 40 to 77-ounce fabric enhancers are on sale for $5.99.
Available at Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
Jaguars fans, let's tackle social injustice together on game days with Selfies for Change. Visit TIAAbank.com/selfies for change to take a virtual selfie with a Jaguars player and unlock a $5 donation to the Jaguars Foundation to help fight social injustice. Share your photo on Instagram or Twitter using hashtag Selfies for Change so more fans can be part of the movement. Join us on game days at TIAAbank.com/selfies for change. TIAA Bank is the official bank of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Hi, I'm Tito Beveridge, founder and master distiller at Tito's Handmade Vodka. In 1997, we became the first micro distillery in the state of Texas, and we're still making the same smooth stuff after all these years. We're still cooking in a pot still, working with our dogs by our sides, having fun and tasting batches, and I'm still wearing the same hat, even after all these years. Head over to Tito'sVodka.com to learn more about what else we're doing the same. Cheers. 80 proof Tito's Handmade Vodka, distilled and bottled in Austin, Texas. Tito'sVodka.com.
Any repeated physical activity puts stress on the body. Checking your phone, getting in the car, sitting at your desk, checking the phone, getting in your car, sitting at your desk, checking your phone for the 50th time today. If you do anything with regularity, you should get massaged with regularity. Massage Envy. Keep your body working.
Regular body work makes the body work with massage, skincare, and stretch. Come in today for more information or visit massageenvy.com for more details.
Oi.
Bonjour.
Xin chào.
Добрый день.
كيف فينا نساعدكم?
¿Cómo te podemos ayudar?
If you have an accident, the last thing you should have to worry about is a language barrier. That's why at Farah & Farah, we have a team as diverse as our clients. So no matter what language you speak, we'll fight for your voice. Farah & Farah, here for you.
نحن هون للكل. Ici pour vous. Aquí para todos.
Here for all. Jacksonville.
I'm Jacksonville Jaguars General Manager Dave Caldwell. Did you know you can ride your bike to every Jaguars home game at TIAA Bank Field and valet it for free? Stop by our bicycle check-in tent sponsored by Alert Today, Florida, near Gate 1 at TIAA Bank Field. An on-duty ZenCog bike professional will park your bike and ensure it's secure during the game. When the game is over, return your claim ticket to pick up your bike. For cycling safety tips, visit alerttodayflorida.com. Remember, Alert Today, alive tomorrow, because safety doesn't happen by accident. Go Jaguars.
JP Shadrick with Mike Dempsey from the Hanania Subaru of Orange Park Studio at TIAA Bank Field. The Publix Tailgate show rolls along. The Jags and the Titans tee it up today at 1 o'clock at Nissan Stadium in Nashville, Tennessee. Tickets for the Daily's Place 2021 season are now on sale. Great seats available for Kane Brown, Maren Morris, Alicia Keys, the Doobie Brothers, Rod Stewart, Blackberry Smoke, Matchbox 20, and many more. Go to dailysplace.com for more info and to buy tickets. Time now for First Rounds on Us.
New York Jets, first round choice, Jeff Lageman.
The Jacksonville Jaguars have selected tackle, Southern California, Tony Verselli.
Only way to the top is looking out for number one. And that's us, keep looking out for number one.
Well, the first road trip of the year, we head all the way upstairs at TIAA Bank Field and welcome in our resident first-round picks, Jeff Lageman and Tony Verselli. Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning, JP. We had a long way to travel. You're right.
It's a long way. I don't know. I don't know how refreshed you are this morning. I hope you had a nice stay at home last night to get ready for this game today. How strange is it being upstairs?
It's got to be by far the weirdest Sunday that I've ever had.
Well, yeah.
In what is it, 16, 17, 18 years now.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. I mean, you're used to, like, wake up. If you're at home, you wake up and you think, I got to get to the stadium. You know, you're going to go through your – even last week was weird, Jeff, because our routine was get here a little bit earlier, go talk to coaches, get on the field, do our stuff. Last week was different because we couldn't do that. We had to come to the booth. This week was even, crazier as I'm looking at Twitter and the pictures of the team getting on the plane. And I'm thinking, did I miss the flight? Am I supposed to be there?
Nope. You didn't miss anything.
And then we show up here today.
You're where you're supposed to be.
No one here but us.
I got to say, it was nice, having a cup of coffee with the wife at home this morning. The dog was happy that I was home on a Sunday in the fall.
You sure about that?
Probably not, at least from the dog standpoint. But, it's very different, JP. But I got to say this. there's been some guys that have worked very hard to get to this studio where we are. I mean, we have monitors everywhere, and it's taken some hard work by about 5 guys. And I'm looking at a few of them in here right now. And we're going to be able to do, I think, a great job of broadcasting and entertaining people today because of their hard work. And looking forward to it. We're going to have, in fact, me and Tony here, we've got 1, 2, 3, 5 monitors in front of us, JP.
Yes.
And if we can't see it, it's not possible to see it. I can tell you that.
Yeah. No, that's right. And it's good. And I echo everything Jeff said. A lot of hard work and because we want to make sure we can communicate to the people listening to the radio what's happening, what we're seeing, and still analyze the game. And I think because of this setup, we'll be able to do that just fine.
Well, and there's a lot of teams in the league that have had to do that.
Yep.
So and the crazy thing is that the conversations that we've had with other teams in the league, some teams have basically been put in a janitorial closet somewhere in their facility with one TV and said, "Hey, go ahead and call a game."
Yep.
They didn't give any importance to it whatsoever, and so I appreciate that the Jaguars invested in this because it took investment to be able to have a studio like we have with all the monitors, all the feeds that we're going to have to be able to bring the fans of the Jaguars the information that they deserve.
And you get to be home about an hour after the game ends, which is nice too.
It helps.
It doesn't hurt.
Well, look, I mean, there's things that we're going to miss. I mean, we love going out.
Yeah,
on the road.
I was going to say I miss it. I miss going to dinner.
Our dinners on Saturday night. I mean, we're total foodies and total whiskey guys, So I mean, we like to have a little bit of that. But
Jeff, I miss being around the team and talking to the coaches, and the
and
players, and like you get a better feel for it.
But here's the reality. If you travel with an NFL team this year,
you're not leaving.
You're not having any fun. I mean, you leave late, just like this team did. They departed somewhere around 6 o'clock yesterday, got on a plane, they got into Nashville, they go straight to their rooms at the hotel. Staff, players, nobody's allowed to do anything. You wake up on game day, they give you a meal, and then you get on the bus and go play a game, and then right after that, you're not allowed to see anybody. You're not allowed to see friends, family, nothing.
Yeah, it's different. It's very different.
All right, guys, let's talk about the game on the field today. And, of course, job one will be slowing down Derrick Henry after 1 week. How well suited do you think the Jags will be to that job?
Well, I think they'll do. I think they'll do fine. I mean, the run defense, if you look at last week against the Colts, was a little bit shaky early, but I thought they did an outstanding job, and it was led at the linebacker position by Joe Schobert and Miles Jack, who I think both had outstanding games. I think maybe it might be Miles Jack's best overall game in a couple years.
By far.
I thought he played really well. And then on the other side, Mike, as I look at this Titans offense, this offense line isn't the same as it was in years past. They lost Conklin, the right tackle in free agency. He went to the Browns. That hurts. I don't think they're overall. I think they're a little bit weak at center and the right guard. Taylor Lewan did not have a great game last week. He was beat up a little bit with the knee. Saffold's a good player. And so I think this is an opportunity for this team. And I think this young football team, I don't think they care what's happened in the past. And I think they'll come out and give a good showing today.
And you got to stop Derrick Henry. I mean, that's just a fact. I mean, if you don't stop Derrick Henry, and Josh Allen talked about it this week, and it was early in the week, and he said you got to hit him hard, you got to hit him early, you got to hit him in the backfield, you got to hit him down the field. I mean, they know it. I mean, he's been the key to success for the Tennessee Titans as a football team, especially last year when the run that they got on late in the season and in the playoffs. I mean, it was about Derrick Henry, so you got to stop him. And Tony's right. The offensive line in Tennessee has been known or has had a reputation as being one of the strongest in the National Football League. And in my opinion, is the same of Tony's watching it against the Denver Broncos from Monday night and watching it on film. I don't think that group is as strong as it's been in years past. But the one thing that I will say, I think the receiving core and the quarterback is better than it has been in years past. And that's what concerns me. And yes, A.J. Brown is not going to be available today. But Jonnu Smith, I think, is one of the up-and-coming, exciting young tight ends. I'd put him a notch below, the Travis Kelce's and the Kittles of the National Football League. But Adam Humphries is still a really good player, and Corey Davis is coming off a 100-yard game. And here's the other thing. Ryan Tannehill has mobility. So, this is a tough task to ask because the Jaguars have not had great success in Nashville. And if Derrick Henry is allowed to get it going, the chance of success goes to near zero.
Well, and Jeff, let me add something because I think we make so much about Derrick Henry, and I agree. first things first, you have to stop them. The Broncos held them under 4 yards a carry and did a pretty good job overall, and that's one of the reasons they held them to 16 points. I'm with you, though, on Tannehill. I think last year, everyone says was he a one-hit wonder those last 9 games when he came in for Marcus Mariota. Watching the film and watching what he did last week, I was really impressed.
Pretty good.
The protection was not great. He was getting hit. He stood in there, and he threw some darts to Corey Davis and John Smith, A.J. Brown as well, but he'll be out. So, and Adam Humphries. Don't forget about Adam Humphries as well.
And he led him on a game-winning drive.
That's right. When it counted the most, he played his best. So don't have this false security like, hey, if we just stop Derrick Henry, everything's good, we'll win this game. They have a quarterback that can beat you.
Tony Baselli, Jeff Lageman with us. First round's on us. Let's flip it around to the Jaguars offense and start with the quarterback, of course. 19 of 20, 173 yards a week ago, 3 touchdowns through the air. A lot of that stuff, all of that stuff was short, though. And Gardner said that's what they gave them on the defensive side. The Colts defense last week, they take what they give them. They're not going to push the issue on a lot of things, but at some point, will they have to push the issue on some things offensively to make it sustainable? Is this kind of performance sustainable, I guess is the question.
Well, is it sustainable? Yeah. I mean, if you don't make mistakes, I think that's what was key for last week's game is that offensively you rarely got behind the sticks. And so you kept things manageable. And if you can continue to do that, can you continue to have a shorter passing game by the quarterback? Sure. But it's not always going to go that way. And, in fact, one of the biggest challenges of playing offense in the National Football League is facing a guy like you're going to face today in Clowney who can set you behind the sticks. Because he can penetrate, he can make big plays, and all of a sudden, manageable downs become scary downs because they're longer down in distance. So you got to be able to contain Clowney first and foremost. And do you want to see more of an uptick in the down the field stuff? Sure. You want to see the ball pushed down the field because, look, you got DJ Chark. He's a vertical threat. Keelan Cole's a guy that can go vertical. Colin Johnson's a big wide receiver that can be vertical. So you want to see some of that utilized. And you also want to see, not to be overly critical, but I thought that Jay Gruden was very honest this week when he said that, look, Gardner was being Gardner, and then sometimes he aborted too early on some plays. And I thought that was spot on. There were times that he didn't trust the pocket, and then they lost some opportunities that would have been downfield. So if Gardner Minshew can improve a little bit in that category and still keep the same efficiency, holy cow. Look, they're looking at being 2-0 in the division.
Well, I'll just add one thing, Jeff. Everything you said I agree with. And I agree with Gardner, guys. He took what the Colts gave him. If you look at that tape, they were playing soft coverage. They were giving the quick speed outs. Very easy throws and trying to keep everything in front of them, which I don't understand that philosophy or that strategy against the Jaguars. If I'm a defense, and I'll be curious to see what Mike Vrabel does, I'd come up and take away all the short stuff and force Gardner Minshew to beat me down the field. Now, he may well be able to do that, but I'm going to find out because the one thing we know about Gardner, he is efficient, he is accurate, and if you give him the easy stuff, he'll take it. And it'll be interesting to see if the Titans try to take that away.
All right, guys, one last quick one here. James Robinson, what do you expect in his second game out?
Well, I expect the same that I saw last week, a very efficient runner. I'm going to steal Woggy's term because he called it first. He's a guy that uses very few steps, and he's very decisive, and he has great vision. I don't think this is a great run defense team in the Tennessee Titans. They're pretty good. And if I was Jay Gruden, I'd run right at Jadeveon Clowney. And the reason is he's going to get some positive plays against you, but he is wildly undisciplined, and he's going to give some big gaps for you to exploit. And I think James Robinson should have a nice day if they do that.
I hope he gets better. Because 17 touches, 90 yards that he had last week with one electric hurdle that he had in the passing game. That was fun to watch. And I think that they need to do a little bit better job up front blocking for James Robinson because, early in the game it was really good. And then all of a sudden later on in the game it wasn't as good. So as an offensive line and as an offense as a whole, you got to be able to find some consistency for a back that in my opinion, he's a really good young back.
All right, we'll find out coming up about an hour and a half. They'll kick it off in Nashville, Tennessee, but we'll have the call today here in Jacksonville at TIAA Bank Field. Stick around, guys. Frangie will join us in just a moment for the Geico Fantasy Outlook. PRI Productions, the Southeast full-service event company, has everything you need to bring your next idea to life. Visit PRIProductions.com and learn more. The Jags and the Titans coming up at 1 o'clock in Nashville. And from TIAA Bank Field in Jacksonville, this is the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
Jaguars fans, here's a great way to pay with pride wherever you go. Exclusively from TIAA Bank, the Jacksonville Jaguars Visa debit card comes with a fierce look and fantastic features, along with the convenience to make purchases online or at millions of locations worldwide. And it's yours, free, when you open a Yield Pledge checking account. Order yours today. Visit TIAABank.com/JagsCard. TIAA Bank is a division of TIAA, FSB, member FDIC, and the official bank of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
This football season, prepare your taste buds for the most iconic sports watching drink of all time, Pepsi. With refreshing deliciousness specially formulated to keep your eye on the ball and mouth-watering fizziness to help you power through game day, Pepsi has everything you need to start strong.
I used to care when Mike cheered so hard he spilled nacho cheese on my carpet, but thanks to Pepsi, even Mike can't ruin my football party.
So this football season, make Pepsi your go-to game day drink because it's the only drink made for football watching. Pepsi, that's what I like.
Why live with foot or ankle pain? If you have persistent pain, numbness, tingling, burning pain on the bottom of your foot, or swelling that doesn't improve with home treatment, it may be time to see Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute. Our foot and ankle specialists have innovative new options to help you get back in the swing of things without persistent pain that slows you down. Call JOI 2000 or go to joionline.net for an appointment.
Jags fans, let's get ready for game day. Now, Jaguars football is back, and we can't wait to be Duval together at TIAA Bank Field this fall. Now, before you head to the stadium, make sure you feel 100%. Protecting the team starts with you, so be sure you've got your mask and you practice social distancing from the parking lot to your seats. Visit Jaguars.com/stadium and get answers to all your game day questions. And remember, stay safe, Duval.
Some things make a house your home. Like clean, fresh sheets that make a bed with the soothing scent of fabric softener your thing. When drying clothes with natural gas, you get faster, gentler drying times, save money, and earn a rebate up to $150. Your home. Our safe, reliable, efficient energy. Love natural gas. Find rebate details at peoplesgas.com.
Dreamfinders Homes has a simple commitment to their home buyers. Deliver unsurpassed quality, uncompromising value, and an extraordinary level of customization you simply won't find with other home builders. With over 40 communities to choose from, you'll find a location you love and the home of your dreams. Dreamfinders has townhomes, single-family homes, and custom estate homes starting from the high 100s and a wide selection of move-in ready homes. Quality, value, customization. That's the Dreamfinders difference. Call 904-738-0165 or online at dreamfindershomes.com. Dreamfinders Homes, the official home builder of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Prices subject to change without notice. Equal housing opportunity.
JP Shadrick, Mike Dempsey from the Hanania Subaru of Orange Park Studio at TIAA Bank Field in Jacksonville. The Publix Tailgate Show rolls along ahead of the Jags and Titans at Nissan Stadium in Nashville. The Inactives have come down. Mike, who you got for the Titans?
Well, let me tell you, JP, we knew some of these already, but wide receiver A.J. Brown will not be playing, nor will linebacker Vic Beasley, outside linebacker Derrick Roberson, backup running back Darrington Evans, tight end Jeff Swaim, the former Jaguar, is inactive today. Offensive lineman Jameel Douglas and defensive lineman Isaiah Mack are the ones who will not be suiting up for Tennessee.
Jaguars put out a list of 6 players down today, including quarterback Jake Luton, the rookie. Wide receiver D.D. Westbrook, a healthy scratch again today. Josiah Scott, the rookie cornerback, is out. Luke Barku, another rookie cornerback, inactive. Doug Costin, defensive tackle. And tight end Tyler Davis has not practiced yet with a knee issue. He is out today as well. The 6 down for the Jags. Let's go back to the booth way upstairs here at TIAA Bank Field for the road game. Tony and Jeff are back with us, and we welcome in play-by-play man Frank Frangie. And we'll talk a little bit about the setup in a little bit, Frank, but let's get to, first, the Geico Fantasy Outlook today. Saving you money on car insurance has been in Geico's playbook for over 75 years. So after the game, get a quote at geico.com. Mike, how did we do?
Well, let's see how we did last week. It will be Jeff Logman batting leadoff once again as he came in last place with 47 points with the squad of Josh Allen, James Robinson, and Cooper Kupp. Let's see, Tony Baselli moves up to the second pick this week as he scored 50. Frank Frangie had 65, so he'll be in the third draft position. JP, you and I came down to the wire.
Yes.
And I outpointed you by a single point. I had Matt Ryan, Josh Jacobs, and Allen Robinson totaled 75. You had Lamar Jackson, Alvin Kamara, and Mark Andrews totaled 74. So you've got the fourth pick. I've got the fifth. And that's where we stand after 1 week. So, Mr. Loggeman, you are up, sir.
I'll take Lamar Jackson.
Okay, Lamar Jackson it is. And I trust everybody. I did not send out a
Yeah, you did a poor
update.
job.
Well,
it was poor.
Yeah, I tell you what. I'll give you your guys if you cannot remember.
No, I
who
got
you
it.
had
I got
last week. But you're right. I did not. I figured
I'm
after
not
1 week
shocked by
we
that
could
at
all
all.
remember.
Actually, I'm not shocked by that at all.
I'm going to go Alvin Kamara.
Alvin Kamara. All right, there you go, Tony. He had not used him, so didn't even need to
No,
give him any help.
I'm a smart guy, Mike.
All right, I know that. You won last year.
Yes.
Frank Frangie, you're up.
I'll take Patrick Mahomes, please.
Mr. Mahomey. All right, J.P. Shadrick.
Josh Allen.
Josh Allen, excellent choice.
Thank you.
I like that one a lot. I'm going to go with the guy I should have gone with last week, and Devontae Adams at wide receiver this week. And let's see what I want to – oh, I got to look at the right week here. I will go with how about Ezekiel Elliott at running back. So, JP, back to you.
Christian McCaffrey.
All right, McCaffrey it is. Frank?
How about Saquon Barkley, please?
Saquon, and that brings us back to Tony.
Wait, well, who'd you pick there, Frank?
He took Saquon. He had Mahomes and Saquon so far.
I'm going to go Mike Evans.
Mike Evans, I think he's in for a big bounce-back week. It's a solid pick. Jeff, you get your running back and your pass catcher here.
I will take Aaron Jones.
Okay.
And I will take DeAndre Hopkins.
And Hopkins it is. A quarterback for you, Tony?
You know, I just think this guy's heard a little bit too much noise this week, and I think he's going to come have a big day with Mike Evans. I think Tom Brady's going to light up a bad Carolina Panther defense.
I think you're right. Frank, you need a wide receiver or a tight end here.
How about Julio Jones?
Julio. Come on. JP acting like there's only one receiver.
I mean, it's early. Come on, JP.
You've got the whole league to choose from. You had Mark Andrews last week. You can have any other wide receiver.
I'd take A-Rob if I was you, JP.
Give me Tyreek Hill.
Tyreek Hill.
Ooh, that's a poor one.
Poor pick.
That.
And I guess, boy, I'll go with Aaron Rodgers here and go with that hookup.
What's wrong with Tyreek Hill?
Well, I mean, JP, that's why you never win. That's why everyone else in this league has won except for you.
Chargers have some good corners now.
Yeah. I mean, that's a poor pick.
Casey Hayward. Here's what we got. Jeff's got Lamar Jackson, Aaron Jones, and DeAndre Hopkins. Tony has Tom Brady, Alvin Kamara, and Mike Evans. Frank goes with Patrick Mahomes, Saquon Barkley, and Julio Jones. JP has Josh Allen, Christian McCaffrey, Tyreek Hill, and I have Aaron Rodgers, Ezekiel Elliott, Devontae Adams. You can only use a player once all year, and once he's gone, nobody else can use him that week. So that's what we've got for this week. Good luck, guys.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
There we go.
The picks are in, and apparently one of mine was terrible. I don't agree with that, but we'll see.
We'll find out. You were.
There's only one way to find out.
You were only a point out of first place last week, and they're critiquing you.
I know. Everybody's a critic.
You know.
Everybody's a
That's what
critic.
happens. That was week one.
Time now for the Frangie file. We visit a little longer with Jaguars play-by-play man Frank Frangie in the booth here at TIAA Bank Field for a road game. How odd is it up there today?
You know what? It is, but I think we were prepared for it. I heard the guys, number one, let me echo what Jeff said earlier. The guys that have worked so hard to put this together, this was not easy, and if you saw this, you'd know it's not. Secondly, I've probably talked to 4 or 5 play-by-play guys, JP, around the league, and everybody said, who didn't travel, by the way, and everybody's situation is different. But the consensus or the theme, if you will, of the folks with whom I spoke is an awful lot of people that had 2 monitors, put them in a lunchroom and go, right? And we have got so much more than that. So the Jaguars people really worked hard to make this work. So we know what we're dealing with, and we're looking forward to it. It's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it, JP.
Yeah, it will definitely be a new experience, Frank, but it's a nice experience to have a 1-0 team going up to Nashville. I mean, the importance of this game, and I understand that, they're forgetting last week. You're not looking ahead, but we can look and all see, man, 2-0 in the division would sound pretty good with the Miami Dolphins coming in on a Thursday night. You'd feel really good about this football team.
You know what, Mike? I totally agree with that. What I really took out of all this, the game, the way it ended last week, is that all of a sudden going to Nashville and winning wouldn't be a shock. That I think watching this team play, watching the way that game played out against a Jaguar killer in Phillip Rivers, albeit on a different team, the confidence with which I think they played, the confidence with which I think they've carried themselves before and certainly since that game, nothing's off the chart now. No expectations are too far-fetched. So that's how I feel about this. And, so go win that thing today. Now I think there's a chance. 10 days ago, not many people thought there was a chance they were winning this game. Mm-hmm. Well, now I think people feel differently, Mike. And so, I think the whole feeling in the fan base around the team is different because of that game last week.
Frank Frangie with us in the broadcast booth here in Jacksonville for the road game today, the Jags and the Titans at Nissan Stadium in Nashville, Tennessee. And it's a place where the Jags have not won in a long time, of course. And a big reason, at least as of late, the last few years, has been Derrick Henry and his performances there. That's scary enough, Frank. But then all of a sudden, the Titans have some weapons on the outside. They have a quarterback they've locked down for the long term. And if they somehow find a balanced attack and they're not just having to run the ball, and that's the scariest thing. I know Henry's scary enough. The stiff arm still keeps me up at night sometimes, but a balanced attack in Tennessee is really scary.
JP, I agree with that. And I do agree they've got good pass catchers even without A.J. Brown today. I agree with everything you said, and Tannehill's playing at a very good level. But let's be honest. You stop Derrick Henry, you're going to win the game today. He's rushed for 647 yards against the Jags in these last 6 games, which means he's averaging well over 100 yards. Not getting it, averaging well over 100 yards. He has gashed this team too many times. You stop 22 and you win the game. And I don't disagree with anything you just said, JP. But the big picture is you stop 22. That's what this is all about. That's what matters here. I think it all comes down to that, and I think, look, I thought they did a good job against the Colts, despite the fact Marlon Mack went out last week. I thought they were committed to it. I thought Devon Hamilton made a big difference. I thought Joe Schobert has got great instincts. His first step as a middle linebacker was very apparent last week. Stop Derrick Henry is that's the no-duh comment of the week. I know it, but it is so critical today.
And, Frank, last week offensively, the Jags spread it around. I mean, only 20 pass attempts, but 10 different players caught passes. Do you expect that to continue going forward?
Mike, I do, and I think that's going to be part of the personality of this team, and I think that's how they're going to have to play. We don't know yet who the emerging offensive stars are going to be other than probably DJ Chark. We don't know the rest of them. But the good thing is nobody else does either. The beauty of what happened last week with 10 different guys catching the football is – when you defend this team, you don't really know how good James Robinson is. You say he was really good last week. You don't know much about Laviska Shenault. You don't know much about Colin Johnson. You're not quite sure how Tyler Eifert's going to fit here. And I think that's a good thing. And I think as long as the ball continues to be spread, people can't focus on one guy. They're going to focus on Chark. He's a really good player, and he did it last year. But I love the fact that there's so much unknown, Mike, when you try and defend this team. So, I think to your question, yes, I think you're going to see the ball spread around throughout the course of the year. I think that's how they're going to play this.
Frank Frangie with us in the broadcast booth here at TIAA Bank Field, the game today in Nashville, Tennessee. It's 2013 was the last win for the Jags up there. It was Gus Bradley's first win as the head coach here, Frank. It's amazing. And that was a game where Will Blackman had a sack fumble return touchdown at like the 2-minute mark to go up by 9 points. He ended up winning that game 29-27. But that's a long time ago, man. Today's different, though. No fans in the stands. The feeling has to be a bit different today.
It's funny, JP. This is my 7th year calling the games. I've never called a win in Nashville.
That's right.
Yeah, okay, I've never called one. I've never called a win in Nashville. And so, I was thinking about that driving in today. I've never called one. But I don't know, because everything's kind of different. The Jags have a better team. I really do believe this whole culture thing and everybody pulling in the same direction. I know those are cliches and they're coach speak, but I do believe, JP, there's something to that. I think it helps that there's not fans in the stands up there. I'm encouraged by what might happen today. I've got a good feeling that they're going to play well. Who knows who's going to win the game? But yeah, that's a long time, man. And when you haven't won somewhere in a long time, it really affects a veteran team that's got a lot of guys that have gone up there and lost. Well, this team's got a lot of guys who haven't gone up there and played in this uniform. So I think that helps the cause a lot. I really do. I can't wait to call this one. I'm excited about this.
They might not know the difference.
Correct.
Frank.
You don't know what you don't know, right, JP?
That's right.
Excited about it.
We'll have a great call today upstairs, and we'll talk to you a little bit later.
All right, fellas, do it for sure. Thanks.
Frank Frangie with the call today, play-by-play man for Jaguars Radio. And this season, the Jaguars are launching predictive gaming exclusively in the Jaguars mobile app. Choose a bingo card, pick your favorite 3 players, and place wagers to win prizes. Check the games out in the mobile app and do it right now. Right now. The game is a little over an hour away. And we've got a lot coming up still, Mike, on the Publix Tailgate Show. We'll come back with a visit with the Ozone.
Yes.
From his home studio here in Jacksonville for this road game today. Jaguars Radio Network coverage begins at noon with Countdown to Kickoff. We're a little over an hour away from Week 2, the Jags and the Titans coming up in Music City. And from TIAA Bank Field in Jacksonville, this is Jaguars Radio. Headquartered right here in Jacksonville, the CSI Companies is one of the fastest growing staffing firms in the nation. As a proud partner of your Jacksonville Jaguars, CSI knows how important it is to find the right people for your team. See why some of Jacksonville's top companies choose CSI for their staffing needs. Visit thecsicompanies.com or call 800-582-0828 today. That's 800-582-0828 for the CSI Companies.
Bold statement. Saving money with Geico is almost better than watching football. Think about it. When you're watching the game, yelling at the quarterback to throw the ball, throw it, Williams is wide open, why are you doing this to me? Use that rocket arm, come on! They don't listen to you. But if you went into a Geico office and yelled, someone please help me save some money on car insurance, everyone would hop to it. Except the intern because it's his first day and he doesn't even have a computer yet. See? Better. Switch and save with Geico. It's almost better than sports.
At ViStar, we believe in better. Better convenience. So members can bank any way they want, whether it's at a branch, on a mobile device, or at one of more than 20,000 fee-free ATMs across North America. We believe that people have better things to do with their time. If you believe that convenience is better, join ViStar. We never forget that it's your money. All loans subject to approval, insured by NCUA.
Hey, it's the Good Greek Spiro, and I am proud to announce that Good Greek Moving and Storage is now the official mover of your Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jaguars are making all of the right moves, and you should too. So when it's time for you to move, do it like the Jags and call it Good Greek. Simply dial ** Greek from your cell or go to goodgreek.com. That's goodgreek.com. Good Greek Moving and Storage, official movers of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Good Greek Moving and Storage, your superhero movers.
Hey guys, I want to take a break here because I'm so excited to talk to you all about this experience Eric Dunn and I are hosting this season called Jags at Home. This thing is for anyone that could use an extra $10,000. I mean, who couldn't? And the Jaguars are actually giving away $2,500 every quarter of every game to whoever predicts the outcome of the game most accurately. Will the Jaguars convert this third down? What will be the result of this red zone trip? If you think you know football and the Jaguars, why are you letting other people take this money that should be yours? It's not like if you top the leaderboard, you have a chance to win. If you top the leaderboard, you will win $2,500 every quarter, every game. Seriously. So when you're watching the game every week, visit jagsathome.com on a mobile device, tablet, or even a desktop, and come get this money. Even better, you get to hang out with me and Eric Dunn while we chat it up during breaks. Again, that's jagsathome.com. We'll see you there.
Welcome back. Final moments of the Publix Tailgate Show. The Jags and the Titans at 1 o'clock today at Nissan Stadium in Nashville, Tennessee. And we'll have Jaguars Radio Network coverage coming up at the top of the hour at noon today. Our stations will join us around the network, and we'll get ready for today's game in the final hour leading up to kickoff. Time now for the traffic update. Presented by Geico. Saving you money on car insurance has been in Geico's playbook for over 75 years, so after the game, get a quote at geico.com. And I must say that, of course, with the team on the road, there's no game day traffic. The game day traffic this year is limited anyway, obviously, right. And we had that last week coming in to the game in this segment. And as you would imagine, there is not much traffic downtown with the team away today as well, and it's a Sunday. Also in Nashville, no fans today in the stands for Nissan Stadium. So there's somewhat traffic in downtown Nashville anyway, most days, but the game traffic will not be an issue. So if you're listening to us on an app or online in Nashville, well, you're not going to the game anyway.
Right, but might want to know if you want to get to that sports bar near the stadium.
True.
I don't know.
True.
If they're open.
They might be open.
They might.
Broadway, right there.
They
right?
may be.
Maybe so. There you have it. The Action News, Jax.com Traffic Live Monitor. Not a lot happening on a Sunday. Let's get now to our visit with the Ozone.
The Ozone.
Well, we worked through it. John Oehser joins us now from his home studio here in Jacksonville. Johnny O, good morning.
Oh, we see him.
We see him, and we don't hear him. John, are you there? Can you get us?
I'm here and talking, and I'm not sure.
We do not have John. We'll try to get John.
I can interpret what John is probably saying
We'll work on this.
Live from my laundry room.
You know what? It's the first time we've had John Oehser not in the booth on a road game or not in studio for a home game. So working through some of that stuff. That's okay. We'll get back to the Johnny O coming up. Let's touch on some of the big picture topics here today, Mike, of course. Jaguars offense. We got a glimpse of what this could be last week with Gardner throwing it around to 10 different guys and the playmakers making moves and getting up the field and scoring, cashing in those opportunities on short fields. What's the next progression in this offense?
Well, I mean, I think it'll continue to be a take what the defense gives them approach, but in certain weeks they're going to come up and say, you know what? James Robinson's going to get a lot of touches. We're going to crowd the box. We're going to play those short area passes, and then Gardner Minshew is going to go play action and try to hit him over the top, and he's got speed across the board at the wide receiver position. I mean, really, all of his receivers can run pretty well, so I think that's probably the next big thing. Also, more passes to the running backs. We didn't see hardly any Chris Thompson in that football game.
Yeah.
And it may be a case of Chris Thompson's really going to be a guy that's relied on when the Jags are behind, when you're in obvious passing situations. As a third down back, we had James Robinson have that one big catch, but it was the only one that he had in the game. And we know that Leonard Fournette had 76 receptions last year to lead the team. So I would expect more passes to the backs out of the backfield, which is something that hurt the Jaguar defense by the Indianapolis Colts last week. I'd like to see him turn it around on Tennessee today.
Dare Ogunbowale is active today as well and available.
Good pass catching
at
back.
the running back position too for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Defensively, it's Derrick Henry. We just talked to Frank about that. And it's just you got to keep him. And we're going to hear from Fred Taylor coming up, and I'm interested on his take on how to defend a guy like Derrick Henry as well. But knowing what we know about past history, if you let him get outside the tackles and pass the line of scrimmage with a head of steam against those smaller corners and safeties and little guys outside, they design a lot of runs out there for him because that's where he's most effective.
Yeah, well, you got a gang tackle. I mean, it's all those things that Josh Allen was talking about this week. You got to, swarm to the football and let Derrick Henry know. I mean, look, when he gets momentum, he's tough to deal with, right? When he gets ahead of steam. If you watch that Monday night game, you saw Josie Jewell come up, not a big linebacker, and Henry didn't kind of see him coming, and he hadn't really gotten started yet, and he knocked him down like a sack of potatoes. I mean, he took him down hard. It's not like Derrick Henry can't be tackled here, even one-on-one. It's just a case of you've got to make sure you get to him early before he gets that head of steam going, and you've got to make sure you're sound in your technique and your fundamentals.
Let's try Jaguars.com
right,
senior
back to
writer
the
John
laundry.
Ozier again at his home studio. John, are you with us? Can you hear us? Can you talk to us, John?
I can talk to you. I don't know if you
do
can
not
hear me
hear.
or not.
We do
That's
not
the
hear,
$100 question.
John. We will try again here in a little while.
I
This
heard
is
him off in the
ongoing.
distance, as you often do in a radio studio. but
Yes.
I don't think anybody else is enjoying
I don't
John.
think so.
He's waving. He's currently, I'll pass it along, he's yelling something. He's got both hands up on either side of his mouth.
Here's what I think John would say. I agree with you both. That's what he would say.
That's a really smart statement,
What an
Mike.
excellent point, JP.
Yes.
Thanks, John. Appreciate that. John Ozier, check for his writing after the game, of course, on Jaguars.com. Bucky Brooks has some post-game writing this year as well, and he'll join us, Bucky will, on the scoreboard show, the call-ins, which I think Bucky really enjoyed last week, by the way. We've got a lot of – this is a fun one today. A road trip, division rival, a place that the Jags have not won in a long time. But you know what? This is a young football team that doesn't know the darn difference, and they can go up there and turn some heads, I think, today with a very good performance.
Sure. Look, I think it's big that A.J. Brown's not in this football game, too, because we talk about Derrick Henry not letting him have the breakaway runs. A.J. Brown's the kind of guy who can take a 5-yard little hitch pass and go 80 yards with it. And he's dynamic after the catch. Now, Corey Davis looked like a number one wide receiver on Monday Night Football. He looked fantastic. He looked better than A.J. Brown. We don't know if A.J. Brown was limited there, but you've got what you hope is an emerging shutdown cover corner, or at least to some degree, in C.J. Henderson. So you take one of those options out. They can also hurt you with a multitude of different tight ends. They're very crafty, particularly in the red zone. You know, it's Jonnu primarily between the 20s, and he gets the red zone looks as well. But, you know, you've got a couple of other guys in Berkster there, and Pruitt, that both are threats, and they create situations. I mean, Vrabel was a guy who would play goal line tight end in New England, and they'd sneak him out in the pattern, so he knows kind of how to lose a guy in coverage and find him out there. That's something the Jaguars are going to have to look out for when they're defensively inside the 10-yard line.
Yeah, no doubt about that. The Jags and the Titans coming up today, week 3, and then, of course, next week, a short week. The Miami Dolphins come in here for Thursday Night Football next week, and, you know, and then it's on the road again after that to Cincinnati with another young quarterback. We'll see. I don't want to put the cart before the horse.
But I know we've all looked at it. I mean, the schedule kind of favorable if they can get this W today. But that's the thing. Got to go get this W and make those other games that much more important. 2-0 in the division sounds amazing right now, you know, because, you know, look at Houston going up against Baltimore today. That's a tough hill to climb. And we'll see what happens with Indy hosting the Minnesota Vikings, but you might be able to get a little breathing room on a couple of these teams.
We've talked to Doug Marrone this week on his coach's show Thursday night, and I was hyping up the last question as always. Hey, you know, what about – okay, final thoughts, Coach, about this week. Big, tough road game, but you got a chance. It's a battle for first place in the AFC South. And Coach Marrone put his hands up and said, you need to calm down. We have a young football team. We're trying to put our best foot forward and play a good game this week. That's the goal today for the Jaguars. Go up there and try to get a win on the road against the division rival Tennessee Titans. The Publix Tailgate Show is a wrap. Network coverage is next with Countdown to Kickoff. This is the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
At Jacksonville International Airport, the health and safety of travelers is their #1 priority. They're doing everything they can to mitigate